moved anymore. I didn't know where talcum about.
There we go.
Go for it.
Hi, I'm Mike Smansky from zaptoit.com and from the Chicago Tribune Media. I'm interested in, from all of you, what kind of dogs you have and or pets, and also, Mr. Guest, how could you avoid the funniest dog in the world, the miniature dachshund? How did you miss that one?
Is that a challenge or a press release? I see. How could I avoid it? Apparently very easily. I just avoided it. I decided, because I knew you were going to be here, that was the one dog that I didn't want in the film. No, there are 150 breeds roughly that are allowed into these dog shows, at least in the States, and I at some point you have to weed some of them out. So we'll talk later, but I can't remember the first question now.
Asking about the dog.
Oh. I have 2 mutts at home. I have 2 mutts. That's what I have. And a cat.
I have a German Shepherd mix named Cindy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a dog.
My building's run by Romanians.
So who needs a dog, is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right.
Terrible.
I didn't say that.
I have a Korean Jindo, which adopted my wife, and his name is Jimmy.
I have no dog, but as a child I had a Cocker Spaniel, and they're still my favorite breed.
I have a mutt, a golden retriever husky, and his name is Aussie.
I have a lab beagle mix named Lucy, and I have a new appreciation for mutts now.
My husband's allergic to airborne saliva. And we have a lovely painting of a dog.
I have a 9-month-old Lhasa Apso named Olivia.
There's a question in the back. Can we get a microphone there?
I was going to ask you the same question, Mr. Guest, about you having your dog.
I have a 9-month-old.
But while I appreciate the film deals primarily with these backstage mothers and their foibles and less about the dogs, did you make a conscious decision to kind of downplay the dogs themselves? We don't really get to know or sympathize. A lot of them, like, those pooches get kind of marginalized.
Sure. Well, yes, this all started when my wife and I went to a dog park. We took our dogs in the States to a dog park, and I noticed the people and the dynamic between people who had different breeds and how they reacted to other dog owners, and I became interested in the fact that that the poodle owner would look at the pug owner with some disdain. It almost became sort of a religious thing, and a woman came up to me who had a purebred dog, and one of my dogs is named Henry. She said, with this incredibly patronizing face, said, What is Henry? I said, well, he's half the... Which was, I'm sorry, basically. I'm sorry that you have to have this mutt. And it's too bad that it's not as good as my dog. I found that I basically make films about people, and I found that was what this is about. And obviously the dogs it becomes a backdrop to what this is, but that's how this evolved. But I'm getting a miniature dachshund any day.
Just for the laughs.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Craig White, Fab Magazine local scandal sheet. Christopher, in Guffman, you played gay. In this film, there's an explosion of gay characters. I'm wondering who might have dibs on playing gay in upcoming...
Well, it's a lottery thing. We have a hat. We have a hat. we pick from a hat. No, I think in Eugene and I, when we were writing the story for this, don't laugh. When we were writing the story for this, we tried to have a cross-section of people that represented this world. And in the research that I had done, this is not like any other world. There There are gay people, there are straight people, there are, you know, whatever's in between. And so we wanted to have that represented, and it was really, it was a conscious choice, but it's just a function of when we're thinking of actors who will be good in various parts of making late-night phone calls and telling them, basically.
Lucille de Saint Andre, Forever Young magazine.
Yes.
I'd like to know, why did you pick some real fat women to walk the dogs, like with jiggling bosoms and jiggling derrieres behinds?
Ah, yes. No, I know what that means, yes. Ça va? Ah oui. Peut-être, je ne sais que, no, well, the world of, the dog world is, in reality, according to the shows that I went to, has a large representation of humans that are slightly overweight. When I say slightly, I mean by 200 pounds, basically. There are a lot of large people, I found. I didn't make a conscious attempt at all. We picked people who were actual handlers. I didn't say, well, they have to be this or that. It really wasn't. It was supposed to be accurate in terms of the percentages of people who are doing this for real. So.
Just over here.
Merci.
I wanted to ask, how did you avoid the kind of mayhem that naturally occurs when you're working with uncontrollable animals in a film shoot, and a large number of them at that?
Well, unlike dogs in Hollywood that are show dogs, movie dogs, these dogs were no problem. There was not one bark during this entire shoot, and I'm not exaggerating. It was just absolute silence, complete good behavior, as opposed to the actors. But it was really astonishing, and we had 150 at one point in a room, and there was nothing stopped filming at any point. It was quite remarkable. Yeah.
Question? Sure. Speaking of uncontrollable groups, Jason Gorberson, MacGroupX.com. Just wondering if you could talk about the uncontrollable group up on the dais here. Doing another improv movie, the challenges involved in doing that, and just the general dynamic that you guys had working together. Eugene.
Specifically, the dynamic of working together?
Specifically, the challenges of doing an improvised film, or at least a part.
Well, you know, for me, you know, it's kind of it's kind of an exhilarating thing, and it's a very frightening thing, you know. I think there are an extraordinary number of people on this dais who can do this so incredibly well, you know. I mean, they can do it in their sleep, you know. They can turn it on and turn it off at the drop of it. It's an amazing gift. I have to work at it a little bit, you know what I mean? I have to kind of think about it. I've got to, you know, I'm going to wear the pages, you know. So I got to psych myself up for it. You know, it's kind of a scary thing. And you know, when you get people who are so adept at it, you know, it just becomes kind of an easy thing because everybody's kind of carrying the ball. In Guffman, we all kind of worked together more as a group, and that was, you know, I mean, and in this film we were working in individual kind of pairings. Listen, I don't know. It's a great way to work, you know, if you can do it all the time. But I think this kind of work, this kind of improvisatory work, really only works in a documentary form to me, you know, because, and Chris can, you know, I don't know, maybe expound on this as a director, but I think the kind of the editing options that are available to you in putting it together, you know, are more conducive to this kind of work than, let's say, doing a straight story film, you know, where it would be harder to kind of, you know, kind of improvise it. But I don't know. I think it's kind of exciting and a little scary. Anybody else?
I think one of the problems, one of the pitfalls is when you're doing a group scene is to sit back and say, boy, these people are saying some very interesting things. So you have to it's like playing tennis. You can't watch the other guy hit the ball and say, that's a good stroke. You got to, hit the ball back and jump right in. But it often would be fun just to sit back and say, gee, this is a funny scene going on around me.
Fred, when were you sitting back? I'm not sitting back.
It's actually a good point, because somebody asked last night, boy, you must have been breaking up a lot, while you were shooting. And it's true. People come out because you don't know what's going to come out of somebody's mouth. You appreciate a funny line when you hear it, but the problem is you don't want to ruin a completely spontaneous great take by laughing through it, going, oh, that was a good line, that was funny. And then, do it again and lose the spontaneity. So you really have to kind of keep going with the scene, I find.
It's very different. There's certain combinations of people that elicit different responses. I have an issue when I'm working with Fred because he makes me laugh, and if you'll notice, I don't have that many scenes with Fred. But in going back to Spinal Tap, there's a scene where Fred shows up as a lieutenant at the Air Force Base, and I actually have to duck behind Harry Shearer because
Which is not easy to do.
Which is not easy to do. No, it involves, it does become difficult. There's something very electric about working with improvisation because you don't know what's going to happen, and the adrenaline sometimes saves you from laughing and sometimes not. Yeah.
I wanted to ask Fred specifically about, did you crack up the guy that you were working with there, and was that a lot of your own material and spontaneous?
My own material, I don't remember cracking him up. He kept a pretty sober face. He had flown in from London where he was doing a television series and had to be back on the set in London 3 days later. And if I remember, our shooting was delayed a day or two. And he finally said, I have to be on a set in London by Thursday, so we'd better get this done. So I think he just took his seat and said, let's go. And I didn't realize how good he was until I saw the film last night, how he helped make me funny with his takes and his deadpan. If he'd laughed or played off it, it wouldn't have been as funny. So I'm glad he came off as well.
And I'm wondering, with each of the pairings, was there any moment that you guys, like Michael and Parker and Catherine and Eugene, that you guys actually really cracked each other up with something that came out of nowhere? What?
I seem to remember more of that than the stuff that was usable, actually. Yeah, that happened. Those probably are unwise to say aloud.
Quotes now, and it's sort of like there were moments with this stuff with Higgins. There were moments when it's just like it's not the competitive edge in me because I don't have one, but there's just like as a fan, it's just I just wanted to just laugh because he makes me laugh. But just countless.
Likewise. I could do a couple of Michael's things which are unrepeatable in any type of company. Where maybe later I can.
We had a scene where I was yelling at Parker, and and it's in the film, and then she goes like, "Quit spitting on me!" And I laughed at her because I'm thinking I'm spitting on Party Girl's face. I felt bad about it.
Yeah, there was something. No, that wasn't where we cracked up because we were able to use that take. It was when you screamed, "What are you gonna hit me?"
And you did.
And then I did, and then I started laughing with that toy.
Are any of the outtakes going to be on the DVD?
Yes, I'm putting together a DVD for this film as well as Guffman. It will probably be an hour of material that people haven't seen. Scenes, yeah.
I volunteered to help you add some time. So don't forget the offer. The offer stands.
Hi, I'm from the Young Street Review, Helen Klukach. This was a deliciously brilliant, funny film about people and their relationship to dogs. I'd like everyone at the front table to comment. Did you see any of these things in the relationship that you have with your own dogs? Did you catch any of these funny situations and say, yeah, that's me, aren't I silly?
I hope not. Anyone?
Well, these people were really serious about their dogs. You know, there was no, oh, cutie, lovey, honey, the way I talk to my dog. You know, they're everybody was very serious, and the dogs were very disciplined, and and put me to shame. I mean, I let my dog run my house, and yeah, they're very serious about the dogs.
My husband's allergic to airborne saliva.
So when he blows you a kiss in the morning,
Anyone else?
I don't have a dog, but Chris. But when I was a little boy, Chris sent us a tape of the actual Westminster Dog Show, and I was quite charmed by the. He sent it to me as a funny thing to watch. It was very charming how these dogs listen to their masters and put up with all kinds of probing and prodding. And from what I saw, we're all very good-natured. And I was quite pleased to see that. It was a touching moment to see that. I'm sure there was some rebelliousness that wasn't on camera, but I thought it was wonderful how well the dogs behaved.
Much better than some of the people.
Yeah.
There was one guy, this is a standout moment for me, there was a guy in the class that we won, the toy class. There was a guy who had a Pomeranian there, and I've never seen anyone, it's like watching someone bite their nails. This guy obsessively primped this dog, just like within an inch of its life, I'm sure. And then when the winners were called out, we came in first, and then there was 2 and 3, he hit the ceiling because his dog was not in the top 3. And he said, now I know that my dog can't win because I'm not a character in the story, but there's no way this dog would come in anything worse than second. I'd accept third, though. And the guy was nuts. And it's like, wait a minute, it's not only a movie, but nobody's even going to see you or your dog. It's like, I think it's great to have a passion about something and to even obsess a little bit and to do competition can be a lot of fun and everything, but man, it's just like, guys, relax.
Yeah, I did a little research. I went to a dog park and they were having a mat show, and it was all Salukis. Salukis are a very old breed. They're the ones on the sides of, that the Egyptians carved into those needle nosed things, and they're very big. And I was chatting this woman up to get some information. She thought I was interested in her dog. I was interested in her to see how she behaves and what her relationship with the dog is, so I could, steal her life and mock it. And she was suddenly short-handed, and I had taken one dog class with some of the folks up here in handling dogs. I don't even have a dog. She said, you obviously know what you're talking about. Big mistake, so, I'm shorthand. My handler didn't show up. Could you take Storm in? Don't worry, he's not going to win. He's very young and huge dog. And I looked at my wife. I said, I'm doing it. I'm going. What the hell? When do you get a chance? So I'll bomb. Who cares? Go in there and Storm. We're doing our thing. Blue ribbon. I won.
So without the passion and the obsession, you won.
That's right. I am a dog person. What's that? Yeah, I do find myself doing that. Came very naturally.
Christopher,
yes.
There is the whole ventriloquism side to your character as well.
Yeah.
And most of the way through the film there, you have that little quick shot of the Egyptian ventriloquism hieroglyphic, which is so funny. I was just wondering, is that a joke that's just been down in you for years that you've been waiting to run, or? It seemed like it might have been the entire reason to put that whole ventriloquism section in there.
Well, the thing about ventriloquism
Well, as it turns out, it's an interesting question. I did this once before when I was on Saturday Night Live. I was a Spanish ventriloquist, and it came rather easily to me. I don't know why. And then I thought it would be funny to put this in when Eugene and I were putting the story together. And after we had written this treatment for this film, I found a diary that was written in the early 1800s by my great grandfather, and it turns out he was a ventriloquist in 1801. And it was very eerie to, after the fact, and in this diary he talks about his interest in imitating sounds and doing things, and I guess it's a DNA problem. That's what I would say.
Do you believe in reincarnation? Maybe you were your grandfather?
You're scaring him.
Well, that's not the right word, Michael. Reincarnation. I'll have to think about that.
Brian Jones from Vancouver. I noticed early on from some of the exteriors and also in the closing credits that you were using Vancouver and BC. Like, how much of the film was done there and how much elsewhere?
Virtually all the film, except for I think 3 days, was done in Vancouver. We did, I think, 2 or 3 days in Los Angeles because we needed sun. Eugene and Catherine are supposed to come from Florida, and the weather wasn't cooperating in Vancouver. It rained almost every day, but the rest of it was done in Vancouver. It does, apparently, yeah.
How is it to shoot in Vancouver?
I like the city very much. I found it a nice place to work, and the people were lovely, and it's the second time I've worked there, and I think everyone had a good time there.
The main reason to go there was money?
Money would be the main reason, yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. No, it's as you know, the situation in the States is what it is, and it's difficult to compete with that, and that's why there's so many productions here and in Vancouver, and now in Calgary even, I think.
What's next for this group?
We were going to go to lunch, I think, after...
I ordered already.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, I'm getting the... Well, I can't speak for... I can only speak for myself. I'm going to rest for a bit. This has been a long process putting this movie together, over a year for me. Well, I'm going to start thinking pretty much right now, after you start. Sorry? Yeah, and it's going to be about miniature dachshunds, yeah. And I'd love to do another film, and I'd love to work with all these actors again. It just might take a while for me to come up with something.
I got it.
Good, okay.
Yeah, Parker and Michael. Tell us about the evolution of the matching braces. That was such a hilarious.
Chris's idea.
We were having lunch talking about our characters, and Chris came up with the idea.
I mean, what is it? I mean, I know what I think it has, but what did you...
They hurt, and you get bloody gums.
I thought it was just to add to this yuppie sort of obsession with clothing and catalogs and their lifestyle, and that it was the capper, literally. And I asked if they would do it, and they did, and I think it's funny, very funny.
And it's improved. I think I thought of it first, but I just didn't tell anybody.
Christopher, Michael, Fred, Spinal Tap, genius.
Like the shirt.
Thank you very much. Love the tour. Guitar, excellent. 9 pickups, very nicely done. Rock and roll, the whole culture of that, disdain for rock and roll fans in general, or love for rock and roll fans in general. Back to last film, or second last film, Guffman, whole theater community project. Now that with his current film with Dog People, what group of people would you least like to be with, and why?
Well, the rock and roll crowd is a bigger crowd, I would think. Other than that, I don't know. I don't think they share much, the three of them. I mean, I think in all 3 cases, there is a tendency not to let the rest of the world interfere with you. And there's a kind of a dome-like, biodome kind of thing about all these, someone who's doing community theater, for example, to take the Guffman example, they don't really care much about what's happening at the UN. summit this week. You know,
And vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. That's axiomatic. Yeah. And I just think when people are kind of in their own world, it's great. It's like watching all the same kind of a fish in an aquarium. You know.
I agree. I think that these different elements that I'm attracted to really have to do with some focused interest in a given area. And I remember that I was thinking about doing something about people who collect model trains, and I went to this model train store, and I was amazed by the dedication and the obsessiveness that these men were standing around, and they were talking about these engines that had been imported from Germany or someplace, and I was really drawn into this conversation because that was the entire world, and all the serial numbers, and one was made of bronze, and the other was had different wheels or whatever it was, and it in a way it doesn't really matter. Everyone probably thinks that their thing is the thing, but every one of you out there and up here have some area which they are drawn to, and it seems odd to someone else. But if it seems funny to me, I guess I proceed with making it to a movie, hopefully.
Do you consider yourself obsessed with improvised comedic films?
Well, I don't know if I'm obsessed with it. It's an area I love to work in, and I find it is something that I am able to do, so I do it. I guess if someone's looking at it from the outside, then maybe that's true. So maybe you should make a movie about me doing this. I don't know.
Sir. Just a quick one to Catherine O'Hara. I think you and Eugene are doing voiceover for Committed. Are you both working on? He told us earlier this summer, though, that you were actually like maybe 1,000 miles apart. You're doing your taping in different studios, so you weren't really physically together on this. So did this effectively represent an SCTV reunion for you guys? Had you done much between, and did you kind of pick up and click, as though the years weren't there?
We realized we can't remember when we played a couple before this, and we think we must have in all the hundreds of sketches we were involved in. I can't really remember playing a couple like this. It's certainly not, we weren't required to be this real as a couple before this, and we had trouble. We didn't click right away, except emotionally. We were sharing our humility and not being able to come up with an idea on the first day. And when I was listening to people talking about what they laughed at, I think Eugene and I laughed most at each other, just suffering with each other. And our first day together, we were like, you talk, no, you talk. And he's saying, you know about dogs. I do not. You talk about the dogs.
Well, as I said, some people are very adept at this. And some of us have to work at it a little harder. But this was actually the first time. I mean, we had done Waiting for Guffman together, but we weren't really working together. It was like the group. And so this film, I think, was the first time, and I think I said that to Catherine when we first started shooting, that this is actually the first time we've worked together on something since SCTV. It's a long stretch.
Yeah.
The next stretch won't be, quite as long.
It is fun to work with someone you've known this long. It's lovely.
SCTV, Spinal Tap, Guffman. Did it make it harder, this shared history long history among many of you for the newcomers to integrate, to become part of this group?
Well, I couldn't say. You're the new kid, really. I mean, Parker and Mike were both in
Jennifer
Guffman,
and Jane were
as was Fred. And
I think the newcomers were annoyingly good.
Yeah.
Yeah. They took no back seat at all.
No, it was really scary. I was a big fan of Spinal Tap, and when I saw Guffman, I thought, oh my God, I would love to work with these people. And I was scared to death my first day, and I think Jennifer was too. We kind of shared that. We were really intimidated and afraid, but they were so loving and warm, and it was great. It was really good group, very ensemble, like doing a play.
It's just an honor. I mean, there's no secret in this room. There's a sort of a line, and there's some above the line, and below the line people on this dais, and I learned, 80% of what I know about how to do this from these guys, and Catherine, and this is who I watched, and it's beyond thrilling to do it with them. It's a preposterous fantasy. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Nicholas Elias from View Weekly, Edmonton. My question is for Christopher. Christopher, you developed some marvelous suspense on which is the winning dog. How did you keep some peace among all your characters here, and why did you choose Catherine's and Eugene's particular dog as the winning dog?
Well, I think it's a good question. I think, and this is was true in the Guffman film as well, that Eugene and I, in creating these stories, you have to have some sense of connection to some kind of emotion in these movies. It's not just a series of jokes and bits. And in this film, we were hoping that we could actually, given how bizarre it was going to be up until that point, by the time we got to the dog show, create in fact some suspense. And it was important to have this moment, and you never know if it's really going to work until editing. And I was surprised. The first screening we had of this film in the States as a preview kind of screening, there was this silence immediately just when the judge was walking up and down, and I must say I was gratified to see that was clearly people had enough invested in these characters to wonder and to maybe root even for some of them over others. It was a decision from the outset to have Eugene win. There was early discussion about who should win, but it seems now in retrospect that was the right way to go. I think that I watched people at the screening last night when the judge points to Eugene, and I think there was a palpable sense of, because he's, well, frankly, pathetic, that after all this, after being put through all this, I mean, not only 2 left feet, but a wife with a history, shall we say, that this is a moment in his life that he can hold on to, and it's so sweet. Every time I see it, it's a sweet moment. And I guess the only other people that could have won would be the boys. I think that people would have enjoyed that, but it clearly couldn't have been Jane. That would have been sad. And these the dysfunctional couple, and then so I think it was the right person, the right people.
We're still pissed off we didn't win.
Well, I just addendum to that. I kind of half forgot who won. So the first time I saw a version of this film, I was so proud of Eugene and Catherine. But the next moment I thought, well, what's really clever about this is because we're focused so much on the people, it's like these judges are really judging the dogs. We're sitting there in the audience kind of judging the people and kind of comparing them. But when you get right down to it, hi.
Good morning.
I'm Michael McKean. When you get right down to it, it's like here are these judges, they're really doing the film. They're doing what would be the film if we weren't looking at the people. And it's like, oh, that is a really cute dog. That little Norwich Terrier is a really sweet little dog.
But in a sense, they really are. Hello? They really are. I see. They really are judging the people. That is the response that the audience has is, in fact, to the man picking Eugene. I think that's what's really happening. And I made a conscious decision. In fact, when he's picking them, you don't see the dogs. The dog isn't even in the shot. It's the actors' faces, and I think by this time that's what people are watching. Hopefully.
Jennifer, do you model your character after anybody in particular, or was there anybody in mind?
Well, I've been to dinner with sort of a combination of what I came up with, but I don't know if I had someone ask me if it was sort of based on Anna Nicole Smith, and it really wasn't. I think I came up with someone much more vacuous than that.
I mean, did you guys do purposely an Ellen and Ann thing, or was that? Did you guys?
No, the kiss was Jane's idea.
We have time for one last question. Yes, sir.
I had a question about tone for Mr. Yest.
How do you draw the line between mockery and pathos? It seems to be a very difficult line to maintain. And is there a certain point where we should be not laughing at the characters and being drawn into their lives? And why are you drawn to characters with delusions of grandeur in the first place?
Well, to begin with the first question, I think that this kind of work is based in reality, and I think that the style of acting has to be real. It can't be sketch acting. We can't look like we're winking and outside of them. We can't feel as if you're patronizing the characters that you're playing. You have to be really in there, and I think that if that is done successfully, then you don't have to worry about crossing that line. I think that the audience has to be invested in these people and not look at them as if we're just, again, doing a sketch. As to the second question was, well, yes, I think that in looking at different areas of different endeavors, it seems that I have been drawn to this, and I'm not sure why. I mean, in terms of self-analyzing, but it does. I am drawn to that. It seems to be present in every kind of work, and I guess that interests me. The idea that someone doing something that is small and perhaps even obscure has this view of themselves as something bigger, perhaps, and I think it's a human trait, which is interesting to me, and that I share, by the way. So.
Then I'll thank you all very much for joining us. Again, I'd remind the journalists, please keep your seats. We're going to allow our guests to leave. The photographers can shoot them outside. We'll have a group photo opportunity for 2 minutes. Thank you.